John was an ordinary man, a father who lived for the little joys in life. He owned a small repair shop in town, and spent most of his evenings laughing at the dinner table with his wife and daughter Emily. To the world, John was nothing extraordinary. He wasn't rich, powerful, or famous. But inside his home, he was everything. He was strength, comfort, and the quiet kind of love that held his family together. Emily was only 10 years old, a bright little girl with golden hair and a smile that could light up even John's darkest days. She loved painting and had a habit of leaving colorful drawings all over the house, on the fridge, the walls, and even on scraps of old receipts John sometimes found in his pockets. For John, those messy doodles were priceless treasures. Life seemed steady, safe, and filled with love. But life has a way of shaking the strongest walls. One evening, John and his wife noticed Emily was more tired than usual. She had stopped running around the yard, her laughter dimmer, her energy fading. At first, they thought it was just a cold. But the doctor's call shattered their peace like glass hitting the floor. Emily had a rare, aggressive illness. Her chances of survival were painfully slim. The news hit John like a storm. He sat silently in his truck after hearing the diagnosis, gripping the steering wheel until his hands went numb. Fear clawed at his heart, but beneath that fear was something strong to faith. John was a man who prayed every night, not out of ritual, but out of trust. And now, facing the unthinkable, he clung to that trust harder than ever. Doctors said treatments could buy time, but not a cure. Friends whispered that John should prepare for the worst. But John refused to give in. He stood by Emily's hospital bed every night, holding her small hand in his calloused palms, whispering prayers when the machines around them beeped in rhythm with her weak heart. "Daddy," Emily whispered one night, her voice fragile but clear, "if I don't make it, will you still believe?" John's throat tightened, and tears burned his eyes. He forced a trembling smile and said, "Emily, my faith doesn't depend on what happens. It depends on who I trust. And I will never stop believing." That night became his promise, not only to God, but to Emily. No matter how dark things got, he would not let his faith break. Weeks turned into months. John's shop barely stayed open, because he spent most of his time at the hospital. Bills piled up, savings drained, but none of it mattered. His world had shrunk to one small room, where his daughter lay fighting for her life. People told him to rest, to give himself a break, but John wouldn't leave. Every prayer, every whisper, every tear was poured into that room. And then came the day when doctors gave up hope. Emily's body was failing. Machines kept her alive, but the spark of life was fading fast. The doctors told John and his wife it was time to say goodbye. But John couldn't. He knelt beside his daughter's bed, laid his head against her frail chest, and prayed the hardest prayer of his life. His words weren't fancy. They weren't long. They were raw and broken. "God, you gave me this little girl. You filled my life with her light. Don't take her from me now. Please, I beg you. If you need my strength, take it. If you need my breath, take it. But let her live. Let her laugh again. I believe you can do this. I believe, even when no one else does." Tears soaked the sheets as John prayed with every fiber of his soul. His wife wept beside him. The doctors stood silently, knowing they had done all they could. For a moment, the room was still, heavy with grief. Then something happened. A flicker, a spark. The monitors beeped differently. Emily stirred faintly, her fingers tightening around John's hand. Slowly, her eyes opened, weak, but alive. The doctors rushed in, stunned at what they were seeing. They checked the machines, ran tests, and shook their heads in disbelief. "This shouldn't be possible," one whispered. But there she was, breathing, fighting, alive. John's knees gave way, and he collapsed to the floor, his heart overflowing with gratitude. He didn't shout or boast. He simply whispered, "Thank you," over and over, his tears falling like rain. In the weeks that followed, Emily's recovery became the talk of the town. Doctors called it a medical mystery. Neighbors called it a miracle. But John knew what it was, an answer to his ultimate test of faith. Life wasn't suddenly perfect. Bills still came, struggles still lingered, but none of that mattered anymore. Every day, John woke up to see Emily's smile was a gift he would never take for granted. His faith had been pushed to the breaking point, but instead of shattering, it had been made stronger. One evening, as Emily sat on the porch painting another one of her colorful pictures, she looked up at her father and said, "Daddy, you never gave up on me, did you?" John's eyes softened as he knelt beside her. "No, sweetheart. I never gave up, because I knew God wouldn't give up on us." The sun dipped below the horizon, painting the sky with shades of orange and gold, almost as if heaven itself had dipped a brush across the canvas. And in that moment, John realized something powerful. True faith isn't about avoiding storms. It's about standing in the middle of the storm with unshaken trust, believing that even in the darkest night, dawn will come. John had faced the ultimate test, and though he nearly lost everything, he had gained something even greater proof that unwavering faith could move mountains, heal hearts, and even bring life where there was none. And so, John kept his promise. No matter what trials came next, he would never stop believing.